Yo, what's up, guys? I'm gonna be doing Doctor Stone today. You know what? I've not done Doctor Stone in how many weeks? In about 12, 15 weeks. A long time. I want to go. I've got a lot of ground to cover. I've got chapter 92 to 105. That's a good 13 chapters that I've missed, and I'm gonna try to cover them all. But I'm gonna go for a different approach. Normally, I'll go for the whole. I'd read it out loud and talk about it and discuss as I go along, but I'm gonna go for a different approach in this. So what I'm gonna do is read the chapter and then just discuss it afterwards. I'll be doing a lot of pausing, so let's go. All right, so I just read chapter 92 and 93, right? So this was quite a good chapter indeed. We get a new character and a new character. So we find out Rusuke has a butler called Francis or Francis, and she comes alive and she's like one of those obsessive butlers with their master, that kind of archetype, and it's quite fascinating to see. And with that, but before, the way they resurrected her was what's she called, the female, she's like a photographer, news person, and they had to use a bit of persuasion, and they somehow managed to persuade her to give her secret stash of the what you call it, revive juice, we'll call it. And with that, they revived Frances, who in turn, the reason why she was actually revived was to make some good bread, because she is a servant but also a good chef of Risque, and that's why she was revived. And with that, we get to see how bread is formed, and she makes some really delicious bread with everyone in tears about how good the bread is, and especially Senku. Even he was crying in this one with all the delicious bread. And then we go on to chapter 93, where in return for the secret stash of the juice, right, the revived juice, what she wanted was a camera, and then with this, Senku creates a camera. And it was quite cool to see the process of making this camera. Um, it starts off with a mirror, right? And everyone knows how to make a mirror. I mean, I didn't know how to make a mirror, but it was quite cool and quite informative how to make the mirror. But with the mirror, he turns it into a camera, and we see her cry. To be honest, and it's quite funny. She's really emotional and stuff. Mm. Oh, that's it. Minami is really emotional about how she first finally gets her camera, but it turns out Senku already planned to make cameras, and it was quite insensitive of him, but it was kind of funny at the same time. And we get to see, and pretty much the first photo that's ever going to be taken is going to be of Senku, and we see this the weight the butler has some clothes ready for this situation. We see him wear a suit, we see him wear some rocker outfit, but in the end he just decides to wear his own thing, right? And it was kind of it's quite a, what do you call it, I found it quite awesome what his pose was. It was actually a reference to Albert Einstein himself, right? And yes, I never thought anime would have an Albert Einstein, but it does. And we see Senku do the classic um, tongue out pose that Albert Einstein used to do. I was like, wow, that was pretty cool and dope. Oh, and the funny thing was the Artesian was here as well. And he comes in this black suit looking all gangster on his two dual piston car. And I was like, Leo, that was pretty funny indeed. But I've got to say, the artwork so far in these two chapters, Bochi, man, he's got some. He's a really good artist. The way he draws everything looks amazing. Like especially this art style, and he draws the female characters extra thick as well. I've noticed that seems to be his thing as well. Like he gets them all. He always makes them look as thick as possible as well. So I appreciate that as well. And they see whenever he draws some scenery as well, it looks amazing. In this one panel where what's it called, Senku and Rusuke are up in the air and the hot air balloon, it just looks amazing. That's what I mean. I appreciate the artwork for these two chapters. Okay, I've just read chapter 94 and 95, and oh my god, the cliffhanger at 95 is crazy. But Let's talk about 94 first. So within 94, what do we learn? So we find out, they're basically doing the aerial photographs that they've been doing to try to find some fuel. They finally find some fuel, and they've noticed that there's like a black smudge on the photographs, and that's where the oil fields are. So they launch a search party in order to look for the oil. They know the rough area, so they're just looking around, but they struggle to find it. And in the meantime, they're also trying to look for ways to make gourmet foods and truffles. So what they use is the wild boars to track down the what do you call it, the truffles, because apparently their love pheromones are the same as the black truffles. So the boars have a natural scent and natural feel for these truffles. But the boars are also used in the same way to find the oil, because the in the real world, dropping a bit of knowledge, which I do enjoy from this show, in the real world, apparently how they found oil was they've noticed that a boar smelled a bit like oil, and it reeked of oil. So they use this boar to find the oil fields, and with that, they now have oil, right? So that's a real big game changer, because oil is very versatile in its use. So now they can actually have fuel, and we see them test it out, right? We see them test it out with their motorboat, and they go out into just the sea, and you get to see how many of them is there. There's five of them. So we got Senku, we got Rusuke. Who else have we got? I forgot his name. The blockhead guy. Let me find out his name. He's getting on my nerves. Let me find out. What is his name actually? Ah, it's kind of getting on me. Give me a second. We got the corn artist guy as well. We got him there as well. We got the archer guy, and yeah, and we got the flip. What is Taiji? That's his name, I think. Taiji. So we got five of them all sat in this speedboat, just looking around. And then Senku says he wants to make a GPS, and I was like, hang on, that seems all very, very optimistic for him, even for him, But that's why you need to have satellites in the sky, and to do that, that's gonna take a long time. But no, apparently he has a different solution, right? Um, which is to use the radio waves and lighthouses to emit them. And we get to see Taiji confess his feelings to his. Oh, it's not. Is he called? Yeah, no, 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 no. We get to see the village girl actually confess her feelings to Chrome, because you know Chrome can't really do it himself. I forgot about Chrome was on this ship as well. I've noticed ever since Rusuke has joined, he's kind of taken a spotlight role as the second character, to be honest. Like when this first started, it was Senku and Taiji. Then Taiji, when he was in the enemy basement camp, it was Senku and Chrome, right? But I've noticed that Rusuke has a lot of screen time compared to everyone else, so he's kind of like the second man now. And yeah, Chrome is kind of taking a back seat a little bit. I almost forgot about Chrome, to be honest. But damn, when I was reading the final part of the chapter, I got goosebumps, because this is a big revelation, because this might this might be involved in the mystery of why everyone was petrified in the first place. Because now they have radio waves, they're kind of communicating quite a far distance with each other. When they get a disturbance in their frequency, and they find out that someone has intentionally joined them with yeah, so someone has contacted them on their frequency, and it's just kind of eerie what they say, right? So it's like, why, and we see this crazy panel of this skull-like creature. It looks like a demon, like why? And I have this feeling this person or this thing was the was the reason for the petrification in the first place, and now they've kind of they've alerted them to the presence of Senku and everyone being alive. So now he knows they're alive, so he's going to try to get rid of them. In chapter 96, they've discovered they've made a sonar now, so they can pinpoint things where things are with the radar kind of thing. And it's quite interesting to learn how the thing actually works as well. I mean, a lot of it went over my head because I'm a stupid idiot and I didn't understand it. But now we actually have an enemy as well, so that's quite interesting. The Y guy, that's what they're going with, and this is the guy who seems to be involved with the petrification. So kind of, he seems like the end game villain kind of guy if he's involved with the petrification. And with the use of sonar, they actually find fish and they do it quite well, and they go for a big catch. That was quite interesting at the end. I'll see what the next chapter has in store. So yeah, I can't believe it's been 2 years now. This manga's been running, and they're doing a popularity poll. So yeah, I'm excited for who's gonna win that. Obviously, I can't vote because I'm not in Japan. But I want to see who people actually like. And now that I've read chapter 96 and 97, they they now have access to a metal detector and they find the ores, right? And this was a Chrome thing, so Chrome got a little bit of spotlight in this. And what they want to do now is enter the factory period, so they need a lot of resources. So that's going to be crazy, and they need to divide the workforce as well. So this is where the five lead guys will kind of get to shine, and with each of them commanding a little army. And we see Rusuke get lost shine here as well, as he has the most experience in leadership. As we see a little flashback to how he was trained as a youngster. Yo, I've just completed chapter 98 and 99, and geez, 99 was a real good one. So we start off with 98 with Senku wanting to give up with the big large scale ship and just go for a smaller one, like a smaller crew, and just try to find out who this mysterious Y man is. Because now there's actually time pressure because this Y man obviously seems to be more advanced technologically than everyone else. So he's going to be on the hunt for them. So they need to find him before he finds them. So, but we get Rusuke here with another backstory. He's like, no, we can't give up. We got to do this. So you see, with his motivational skills, he somehow persuades Senku to actually pursue making a large scale model, and they go for it. I'm telling you, this Rusuke is, he's basically turned into the second main character at this point. He gets all the star shine and everything. It's crazy. But with them two, and yeah, those two make quite a good dynamic duo as well. They look quite similar, and they've got that charisma that everyone else lacks. They got the leadership as well. And with 99, we get to see a cool montage of the whole team just building, and yeah, and we get to see Minami take these photos as they go along. And whenever we see a panel of a photo, it looks quite nice how it's all blurred out and kind of smudged. It looks pretty cool. The style that Bochi used to make that. And then the reason why she gets a bit emotional at the end because she's not going to see everyone else. So they literally spent a year making the boat, and they actually finish it, which is quite cool. But it's a bit emotional now because she's not part of the team that's going to go on the expedition, and she's going to stay behind. So she's sad that she might never see the rest of the gang again. So even though they spent all that time together, so they're quite close now. And at the last, we see a timer photo, and the final panel looks pretty cool with the boat, and it's got the shark face. It looks real sick, I think. We see the whole cast there, just standing next to the boat, and everyone looks a bit shaded out. I think that's a really cool photo indeed, and it's quite emotional indeed. So I want to see what's happening. Let's see if they can sail out now. So after reading chapter 100, yeah, I can't believe we made it to chapter 100. No, it's chapter hundreds are the Centaurian chapters are always quite interesting, always eventful. So chapter 100, we get to see basically Rusuke makes a list of the candidates to go on the adventure, right? And we basically see the main cast getting picked with a few of the side characters getting left behind. But the funniest one was King Kinro. At first, he didn't want to go because he's a bit of a coward, but then he tries to swim to the ship as the ship is leaving, and he thinks that he's gonna go back because he's like, oh, best of both worlds. I was courageous enough to go, but I couldn't make it. Well, he ends up with Taiji coming back and saving him, and he's on the ship now, even though he's the one to. And they've come prepared as well. They've taken the prisoners, the main bad guy from the last arc, with them, and they're using him as an ace. So it's pretty cool to see the main cast still on the ship now, and they've actually set sail now. So they're going to this other island before they set off for the adventure. They're going to find some materials left over from the space shuttle, and then this is what we learn about the stories. And what they're looking for now is platinum, so they can make a high amount of that's petrification serum. But we also realized why they didn't keep making it even with the slow process they were doing. It's because apparently only 150 people can function as a society at once. So I thought that was a pretty cool fact that I didn't know myself. So I was like, wow, that's pretty cool. So they intentionally kept the numbers low on purpose so there would be no conflict and falling out. So that was pretty cool to know. And then we get this new character. He's on the ship as well. He's a bald kid with an X on his head, and he's nameless, right? And apparently he's not from the village, but he kind of floated down from wherever he was from. So we learn that the island they're going to, Tajirajima, is currently not empty, and it's going to be civilization there. So that's going to be quite interesting indeed. Okay, so I just read chapter 102 and 103, and geez, this is getting intense. So in 102, basically they just give us a quick tour of the ship, and now they're approaching the island, right? And they're making a big example of how much technology has changed and how long it would take to cross these seas and how dangerous it was, and for them to cross the seas in within mere hours, and it's crazy. And so then a storm comes, and they use the storm to kind of get on the island without the islanders noticing, and they notice, and the thing that they know is now the islanders don't have a radar, as none of the signals were picked up on their radar as well. And then this is where it gets juicy. 103, they land on the island, right? So and then they have a recon team with Senku, and some others. My memory's kind of bad, but yeah. So there's four people going recon, but then Yuko, who was doing the recon, kind of discovered something fishy and strange underneath the boat. And when what's his name? When Ginkgo goes and searches for what's underneath the boat, he sees there's loads of statues, but it doesn't add up. And then this is when we see someone's been looking at them. And then we get a little skip to the recon group, and they look back and they notice everyone's been turned to stone. Oh, this is some crazy stuff going on. We've got to find out who's turning to stone. Is this the main bad guy? We'll find out. I'll find out for you guys in a bit. Alright, so I finally read chapter 104 and 105, and I'm finally caught up to Dr. Stone. So it's taken me an hour, and this video is probably around 20 minutes. So with this chapter, we now have an opening for this arc, I'm guessing. We'll call this Treasure Island arc, alright? So with this Treasure Island arc, we now know who the boss is, right? So the enemy we're looking for is the Great Leader. And this Great Leader seems to be controlling and ruling over the people with an oppressive with an authoritarian approach, threatening to turn anyone into stone if they don't follow his command. And this guy, and yes, I assume he's a guy already, because he seems to have a harem, and Amarales is trying to actually join his harem by being this beauty, but she wants to actually beat him. So that's kind of cool. So that means them and Senku and all that can actually their interests align, so they're gonna team up. That's what we kind of see. So it's kind of interesting. We see now that Schultz, that's his name, the Baldy. The reason why he actually left this island in the first place and came to Ishigami village was because he was there. His family and stuff were running away from the petrification. That makes a lot of sense now. The reason why they would leave in the first place. But that begs to differ. What does this great leader look like anyway? We gotta find out. And are we gonna be able to save everyone on the ship as well? That's gonna. And how long is this arc gonna be? I don't know if this is gonna be a quick arc or a long arc, but I'm excited actually. Ever since we discovered the Y Man, I don't know. I find that the show has got a bit more interesting because we now have this mystery that we need to solve. The mystery of the purification. Who is the guy that's doing this? Stuff like that. So I'm excited for the next chapter. And after what 3 months, I finally got up to the Doctor Stone. This is going to be very good indeed. Let's see you next, guys.